2025, so by now you've probably heard of Zyn or these little nicotine pouches. But they're not just nicotine pouches anymore, let's be honest. They're memes, they're biohacks, but are they really, or is it really just vaping for biohacker bros?
Well, today we're going to talk about what Zyn or nicotine gum and all these little pouches are, why people use them, why it's exploding in popularity, what the science actually shows about nicotine, and why I use it sometimes.
The truth may shock you, or it probably won't, but as usual, guys, Victor and Julian here, the BeFit Bros. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. You know, I've never really said that, but our marketing people are telling us now that's important. So, I don't know, subscribe, click the bell, all that fun stuff. So today, let's just dive into what Zyns are, because honestly, I've always been kind of fascinated by them, but I'm also like very hesitant to try these things.
But you've tried it.
Maybe.
Of course you have.
Perhaps.
If you know any young people, they've offered it to you.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not young.
That's what I'm saying. If you know some,
they have
at one point they've offered it to you.
Yeah, like trying to Zyn, and I'm like...
You know, so you should probably go tell a story. Like, how did you feel? Because to backtrack, you're a little bit sensitive to compounds.
I am.
So...
I am sensitive to compounds. How we figured that out? Years of studying.
Let's not discuss that, but...
years of experience. But I've tried it 2 or 3 times, and every time I try it, I don't like it. I get lightheaded. I feel woozy. And go ahead, call me in the comments.
Oh, man.
Right?
So early.
Call me. It is what it is. People.
I know why that is, though. It's because...
I'm going in too hard.
Well, doing research for this podcast, I realized that Zyns have a lot of nicotine in them. Like a good amount. Yep. So, you know, we'll talk about like my nicotine use, which is sparingly, by the way. But this is 3 milligrams, and I split it in half. So I have 1.5.
Zyns have 4 to 8.
Could be, 8, could be 6, which is a lot at once. So you will feel lightheaded unless you're like a cigarette smoker or something, or you're used to it.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was too much, and they didn't warn me at all. And I think they gave me like a 6 or something like that. I put it in, and almost immediately I was like, whoa, like not a good,
right?
Yeah, not a good feeling.
Yeah, it happened to me once with one of those too, which is why the ones that I take are different and much less.
What's that, knick-knack?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a healthier one.
I take patty whack.
Okay.
Yeah,
give a dog a bone?
That's my personal MO.
So for the people, there's always a few of you who are living under a rock and they'll know the
Ashton
popular
Hall
stuff.
Don't know Ashton Hall.
But if you don't know what Zyns are.
Oh, these are like little mints.
Yeah, they're little mints. So they're also way better than pouches.
These are
not. Want one during the episode? That would be funny. To be on nicotine while
talking
about nicotine? No.
Then I'm not doing it. That's like a little pillow under. How cool.
That plus all the caffeine I've had this morning, not a good idea.
Interesting combo you would have.
And no breakfast.
These are definitely, I agree, better than the little pillows that the Zyns
I just don't like that. I don't like having something in my gums like that.
And I don't like the consistency of having like a pillow-like substance in between my gums.
These are like, those are, what do you call it? Like mints, basically.
And as you can tell, I'm struggling with it.
Okay, so Zyn is the more popular brand. Like I think they have like 70% of the market share in this category of chewable or dissolvable nicotine. So it's just huge. It's a huge brand. That's why Zyn is like the thing. We're not just saying nicotine gum or nicotine mints. We're saying Zyn because they're so freaking popular.
That's what I wanted to say.
Swedish brand or something, right?
That's what I wanted to say. Is I wanted to preface it by saying we're not just shitting or analyzing Zyn. We're analyzing all forms of these dissolvable nicotine.
There's a bunch of them. Go
pouches,
to your local
gums.
gas station and you'll see if you
Exactly.
You
but it's become kind of like the Google. Like you just say, oh, Google it, when you really mean like search it on the internet.
Yeah.
So it's like Zinning is...
And it's like the jewel of...
Exactly.
What jewel was for vaping.
The crown jewel.
So I hear. That luckily I never got into.
Luckily.
Not young enough for that.
It was on the edge.
Yeah. So what in the hell is a Zinfluencer?
These are those bros that are obsessed with productivity. Like productivity has become this generation's like machismo thing. Like all guys are hyper focused on being as productive as possible and
Not
locking.
all guys, but yes.
Well, you know what I mean. Like this breed of guy of locking in, quote unquote. The same guys that raw dog a flight. I don't know if you've heard that.
They go LFG in the group chat. Locked in. Time to lock in, boys.
Have you guys seen? If you guys don't know what raw dog in a flight is, it's in the same vein as this. It's literally no distractions, just you and the flight, boom, for whatever, maybe 6-8 hours, no headphones. So Zyn has had that same type of popularity boost amongst this breed of guy.
Is it like a TikTok thing?
It is on TikTok a lot, and you'll see a lot of people like they'll post a video like, they'll show the Zyn like 1 Zyn, 6 hours of whatever of work, no distractions, and it's like time to lock in.
Interesting. So I thought it was more like a party drug.
No, people are using it to
but it is though.
Oh yeah, for sure. You'll see guys
like in
doing
Miami, I would venture to say that more people use it like when they're going out and drinking as opposed to.
I'm sure they do.
One of the articles I read said that one of the guys I was talking about why he uses it is basically like he'll have a few drinks and then this gives you a little buzz. So then he'll switch to kind of like not have to keep drinking, but continue having a buzz.
Yeah.
I've used it in that scenario too, and not Zyns, this one. And what I find is that it kind of gives you a little bit of a like alertness, right? So it just, I mean, I guess it's like the new age, go outside and smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
I think a cigarette might relax you a little more.
Yeah.
Nicotine has this weird thing where it gives you like alertness, but also relaxes you at the same time. I've never experienced relaxing benefits
You're not a
from
very relaxed
it.
person.
I'm not at all. Like to me, it's just like sweatier hands and like more like amped up.
Great.
So, but we'll talk about my personal use after.
Great. Sweat your hands. But it definitely still has some of the same similar effects in the sense that it increases your blood pressure, right? As a cigarette smoking and all that stuff.
Yes.
So technically you're right. It is like kind of the new age going outside and smoking a cigarette.
For sure. And I think that if we can just, I guess, segue into why we think it's popular, I think that it's like smoking cigarettes isn't cool anymore or accepted, right? People don't like the smell. It's not as accessible. This is very discreet. I think the discreetness is one of the reasons why it's so popular. Same with like what do you call the chewing tobacco that you have to spit?
Yeah.
I read that in the article too, that like people find spitting disgusting. So like you have this stuff in your mouth and you're constantly having to spit it out. Like that's nasty and it might leave like a bad taste in your mouth. But this is literally a mint that like it's very, it's so discreet that they've caught people like it's a bad thing, but have you seen like where they'll catch like a coach or like a senator or someone like that just like putting it in? I think RFK or one of those guys got caught in like he was in Congress or something. And he was like,
time to lock in. Yeah, I heard him say, "Time to lock in." Time to lock in. Yeah,
we always do an RFK impression. Always.
But I agree with you, and I agree that smoking might not be as popular. Smoking was also like this thing of rebellion, and we're just not in that, or at least the youth nowadays, because we're not part of it anymore, is not part of that rebellious culture as much as it used to be. You know what I mean? That
bunch of losers.
Well, I mean, they're not getting as much lung cancer and things like that. But I guess.
By the way, smoking cigarettes is cool, still in movies only. I feel.
Smoking cigarettes is super cool in like photo shoots and shit too.
Yeah.
Like you look so cool.
Yeah.
Kids don't smoke cigarettes.
Yeah,
don't smoke cigarettes. We're not here condoning the use of cigarettes. We know it's very dangerous. Lung cancer, throat cancer, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. However, no, I'm kidding.
That's pretty cool. Should we jump right into then the health ramifications?
Well, I want to go into like why it's exploding. You said that it's appealing to young men. And okay, I totally see, because I would consider myself somewhat part of that like productivity. I follow like the Peter Attias and the Hubermans.
You're still consider yourself a young man, and I was looking at the camera like
consider myself somewhat of a young man.
I still consider myself somewhat of a spry young man.
No, but I could see that. And we don't have the research in front of us, but like we don't really know how many actual users are male, but I would bet that it's the majority. At least the articles that I read was talking about how like it's a kind of a guy thing, especially to like advertise it and like tell people that you're doing
65-35 guy to female ratio.
But I can see women using it more as like a going out thing, for energy or a little boost or a little buzz or whatever.
Yeah, women are always more self-conscious too about the smell of the cigarette and all that stuff. So I think this is definitely a more appealing route for them to take if they want that nicotine consumption. Another reason why it's blowing up is because people nowadays are obsessed with hacking. Whether it's hacking their studying or hacking work, you know what I mean? Like everything is trying to find that cheat code, and this feels like a little cheat code that is going to help me focus. It's like some sort of like legal Adderall that you could just pop into your mouth and take it any minute.
Yeah,
so I feel like that's definitely been a huge part of the, what are they calling this buzz of, like this productivity buzz, that like it's cool now to be hyper productive amongst this same niche of male that we were talking about. Usually it's males for some reason.
It's funny because they'll take it so far. Obviously, like the Brian Johnsons, the guy that's trying to live forever, he takes it too far. But even there's a subset of them that take it so far that they'll do something that's like downright might be dangerous for them, but it's such a biohack that maybe I'll try it. Like I know that there's a diabetes medication that people use, like even researchers are using, because it's supposedly has longevity benefits, but it also comes with potential side effects. So anyway, all that to say that, yeah, I think you're right. The biohacking is very popular these days.
Very popular, though. What they call the Huberman Bros, the Huberman Hive. Even though Huberman himself has said he doesn't do it, he does know a lot of people, and I know his listeners are trying to take every shortcut they can to kind of get the most out of their 24 hours and be as productive as possible.
I think, fact check me on this, but I think Huberman has mentioned that he has a colleague who is at Stanford or one of these guys that's like a researcher, and he said he swears by like nicotine as like by far the most productive thing that like is responsible for him publishing all these papers and being able to work for 6-7 hours straight and being able to focus on all these things. But don't quote me, and I'm pretty sure I heard him say that on a podcast somewhere.
Did you hear
look it up?
Huberman, comment down below and tell us if you said that.
If you're talking about, comment down below. If you know somebody that uses Zyns or uses it yourself, comment below. Is it more of a party thing or like a going out thing, or is it more like a focus work, like deep work type thing?
I'm curious to know, which side are you on?
Me? I'm a half and half.
No, but like, which side do you think? I know you're on the half and half.
I'm gonna say again, because we live in Miami.
Party?
Most people that we know use it as a party thing or like when they're drinking.
I'm gonna say they lock in, or they think the illusion of locking in.
How many people do you know that are like that?
Lock in?
You personally.
Bro, literally everybody I know is locked in, and they're gonna come for the summer,
Yeah,
and they're
okay.
locking in, and they're making 6 figures, bro.
I don't think you know anyone like that.
I know Joe Bucks,
Oh,
the guy that gave me my
that
first
guy would
Zyn.
use it to freaking work out.
No, that guy's a
It's
disaster.
ridiculous.
That guy's a disaster. But he did give me my first one, so shout out to Joe Bucks.
Yep.
Not Joe Buck.
Joe Butts. So let's talk about like the health aspect of it. I don't want to get too deep into this because I don't think that this is like our thing, but this is a health and fitness podcast. So health ramifications. It's obviously healthier than cigarettes.
Yeah.
That's like pretty definitive.
Yeah, anytime there's no combustion and you're not inhaling anything, it's automatically healthier.
Plus, not all the chemicals that are in
Yeah.
in like a typical cigarette.
The short-term side effects that I've seen, that I did some research for this, was the gum issues. The gum recession is the only issue I've seen. Short-term, long-term, we still don't know. The jury's out. So if we start growing tails because it's in, who knows?
That and acutely, it raises your blood pressure. So obviously, if you
Yeah.
have high blood pressure, it's not a great idea.
Yeah.
And you do
Some
notice that
vasodilator,
right
right?
away. You notice right away as soon as you take it that.
Oh, yeah, I
that,
noticed.
So,
Maybe also all the caffeine that I'm hooked on.
which is interesting because again, some people see it as a like a relax. You know, people that smoke cigarettes, when they're stressed, they smoke, and
Yeah.
it kind of like relaxes them, and that's a big hit of nicotine that you're taking at the moment. Obviously, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is how addictive nicotine is.
Yep.
That is like, that's clear. There's no like, oh no, it might this and that. No, that's why Huberman doesn't like to say, advertise it, even though he knows the benefits, because it's like, I'm not gonna tell people to do something that's addictive.
It's super habit forming. Yeah, that's something that I've definitely seen. And the more I look into it, the more I see that people start with, and I think Huberman did talk about it. We're talking about him a lot, but it's because this is kind of in his lane. He talked about it a lot, that people they start with, oh, I take one every like 6 hours at work and I lock in and this and that. And then the next day is like, that same one, we all know if you're
Tolerance.
either a cigarette smoker, if you've done any sort of drug, if you've taken any medication, obviously your tolerance builds. So by the first month, you're taking one every 6 hours. Second month, you're taking 2 a day. Before you know it,
Constantly.
you're doing a whole little tin.
Yeah.
And you're not going to tell me that it's not, in the long run, going to have some sort of ramifications on your health.
For sure. Anything that you depend on like that, especially as a compound, I will say personally, from a personal use, I don't find it addictive. Like I can go however many weeks without having it and like strategically have it, which is when Huberman says like, if you are going to use it, this is how you should use it. Like be very strategic and not like an everyday thing.
Yeah.
But you know what is addictive? I'm convinced.
Oh,
There's something in here. I'm
shit.
telling you right now. Everyone I know that starts drinking Celsius gets addicted to it. What is the mystery here, Celsius? What are you putting in this thing?
We're never getting sponsored if you keep doing this to them.
Hey, whatever, man. Oh, you never know.
We either pick transparency with the people,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
we sell out and start doing Celsius ads.
The other thing we have to mention is that this is marketed as tobacco-free,
Yeah.
but the nicotine that they take is actually extracted from
tobacco. Yeah, so it's still...
Now, yeah, you're not using like, I guess the tobacco leaf and whatever it is. I don't know how cigarettes are made, but now this one specifically that I get is synthetic, so it's actually made in a lab. That one is tobaccoless. And again, I'm not a proponent. I'm not telling anybody to do it. It's just that when I was researching, because I am one of these biohackers, I was like, well, let me get the best nicotine on the market, and these people market themselves as
non-tobacco nicotine. It's one of the ingredients. The ingredients are
And
xylitol.
it's one of those clean companies from the West Coast, whatever. I trust them.
It comes from Spokane, Washington.
There you
Boy,
go.
That's why. That's
Yep.
as west.
I've been to
as you can
Spokane.
get.
Cool place.
Yeah? Juice Spokane to any people? Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry. But yeah, no, 3 milligrams of nicotine.
And I take 1.5
The
again.
third ingredient is non-tobacco nicotine. The first one is xylitol. Yeah, so I guess these are like as clean as you can get them. I'm not gonna shout them out or anything,
The
but
other thing we haven't talked about is that the harshness on your throat. As soon as you, it's pretty harsh. If you're not used to it, it's kind of overwhelming.
I don't like it at all.
So, and again, that depends on the percentage, like the milligrams of nicotine that's in there. These are very light, so but you still feel it for sure. Like you'll feel it like going down your throat.
Yeah, it's such a jib too. All this marketing with how they say it's like tobacco free, and it's like it's just a marketing scheme. Like you're getting it from the tobacco still. So I mean, just because you're not inhaling doesn't mean it's completely tobaccoless.
However, since you're not inhaling and you're not smoking anything, it's significantly healthier than that.
For sure. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying like they're still trying to jib you.
Yeah, I mean, marketers are always gonna. I mean, look at this. Let's go back to substance. I have to talk about it. Essential energy. Accelerates metabolism, questionable. Burns body fat.
That's
you want to talk about deceiving? Burns body fat. And
Sorry,
then you have,
I said a bad word.
Then you have the little people down here, like, part of a fit lifestyle, cycling and running and whatever.
Why are you doing yoga on Celsius?
That's the thing. It's like this. I wouldn't market this as this is a tool to help you burn fat, and it's just a stimulant.
My question
is a million stimulants you can take.
My question is gonna be,
this is a stimulant too.
What is what's in this that's causing such a stir? Because it can't be this like be all end all to energy.
Everything comes with a.
So there's got to be something in there, and when we find out.
And you want to talk tolerance? I know we're getting off topic, but you want to talk tolerance? I started by having a coffee in the morning, and then half a Celsius. I would like kind of sip it through the day. Then half a Celsius turned into a full Celsius plus a coffee. Now I'm up to like the point where sometimes I'll do 2 Celsius a day and coffee. Sometimes.
And we can tell when you're here. We can tell.
Yeah. No, that last podcast, Danny was talking fast. I was talking fast. I was like, holy crap, is this in...
I'm just immune to it at this point. I'm just kidding. It happens to me all the time.
But you're more like you stick to cafecito and you're not addicted to it because you go on vacation and you don't have it, which is crazy, by the way, because I do get caffeine headaches if I don't have it.
No, I just, for me, it's like an anxiety thing. I drink the cafecito because if there was something else here to eat or drink, I would.
I know it's weird, but I like that feeling of like almost cracked out.
I don't.
Like that, like little bit of like I'm teetering the line. Yeah. I'm about to be super cracked out and uncomfortable. I like to, walk that tightrope.
Should we?
I'm weird, man.
Guys, next episode is an intervention. Intervention next episode. So since we're on that topic of you being a user, you use?
I use.
Can you tell us if you have any sort of limits for yourself, how you use it, what do you feel when you're on it as an avid user? Because I've told you guys my experience and it was not pleasant.
Yeah, so I initially started using it for what they would call deep work, which is another, biohack thing.
Like the whole thesaurus of biohack words.
So I would use it to lock in, for lack of a better term.
Lock into my deep work.
If I had like 2 or 3 hours of computer work, administrative work, cognitive, anything that I'm thinking.
So you can get in that flow state.
Exactly. I would just pop one of these. Sometimes I would do it with either half a coffee or a coffee. Now it's Celsius, but that caffeine with the nicotine stimulant is like you're in.
You're locked in.
And for some reason I love what you said about like the Adderall comparison, because it is like a mini Adderall, not as crazy, but you feel like whatever you're focusing on, like you can give your full attention and you're just going, And the other thing about me specifically is that we work every morning, right? So in the morning is when your brain is like better optimized for cognitive work. We don't have the luxury of doing cognitive work in the morning. So I usually sit down on my computer after lunch where you're lethargic, like you don't have the same energy anymore. So I use this as a boost, like to get myself going again.
Gotcha.
And basically start my second half of the day.
Gotcha. So you use it kind of like a little brain booster.
100%. Okay. Yeah, it's a nootropic is the way I see it.
Yeah.
Which we should explain what that is.
Nootropic is another
another
supplement, biohack into this whole world of... and what exactly is nootropics? It's like a combination of...
Nootropic is any compound that falls under the category of brain boosting, brain health, cognitive.
Which, by the way, brain boosted. All of these are buzzwords into the whole biohacking, Brian Johnson, Huberman world.
Yes, for sure.
So if you've never heard any of these, you're probably out of that loop.
And we have to say that there's a good aspect of all of this, right? Like it's good that people have a vested interest in their health and doing something that's going to make me like better. Yeah. But of course, you can take it too far and you can start either having a dependency on these things or just using too much of the ones that are not good. Like coffee is technically a nootropic. Like there's good data to show that caffeine, specifically from coffee beans, helps with like blood flow to the brain and all these other cognitive health benefits that just from having a cup of coffee.
But Oh,
Don't have 10.
I thought there was a butt coming on. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is there are good nootropics. There are things that you can do every day that are good for this. And then of course you could take things too far.
Yeah.
And then of course you could be one of these people that are like, you know, Adderall in the morning, caffeine, doesn't eat for 7 or 8 hours. And it's just like, you know, I can like see like a finance bro.
Yeah, this sounds
And then
like
cocaine at night.
well, this sounds like every like finance or every young person that's trying to lock it. I can see this happening in college all the time.
All the time. It's a very like Gary V
Yeah.
type of mindset of like just grind
all day.
do more. Like,
Yeah.
you know, 15-hour days, 16-hour days,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Even
and of course, you want stimulation for that. You can't do it. You can't raw dog
That's
that.
what I'm saying. A lot of the people now are like priding themselves, are going away from that, and like, oh, you need this to do it. I can do it because I'm so locked in that I don't need anything else. So like, of course, that's just like the other side of the 1% of these guys that are trying to biohack the biohacking. Yeah, it's a whole.
And then on the side note, I also yeah, no, I'm way too much caffeine. And then also as a side note, I also use it socially. Like I do enjoy having one of these after a few drinks, and it does kind of give you like that little bit of a buzz, a little alertness. Like alcohol after a while, it's kind of like a depressant, so it kind of like knocks you down a little, and this kind of like brings you up a little bit. So
yeah, I can relate to that, except I don't do that.
You do compounds.
No, I don't do compounds.
Not those anyway.
Well, my mom watches this, all right? You calm down with what you say about me.
One of the potential positive uses for this is to keep people off of cigarettes or people who are trying to get off cigarettes.
Yeah.
Would you say that's
definitely a good one. The only thing that I've seen with that is that they definitely require more than your 3 milligrams. They'll require a little more because they're used to that. So they take one of these, they're probably not going to feel anything.
Yeah, or you run the risk of, well, now I'm addicted to this instead, and I'm just popping them like crazy.
Yeah,
which kind of defeats the purpose.
It defeats the purpose, but I would say it's still better than being addicted to cigarettes.
It is.
You know, argue with someone, like you can argue it because there is no long-term data of this, but for the time being, it's definitely healthier than smoking something, you know, getting your lungs with the tar, the combustion, all this stuff. So I would say in the short term, it's definitely better, but you don't want to be addicted to anything.
For sure. So now let's go with a negative, definite negative that I see, which is obviously when something starts going viral on TikTok and stuff like that, even if there are 21-year-olds or 25-year-olds advertising it, you know that a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old is looking. So now there's underage. And that's the thing. There's underage. Obviously, these things you can't sell to minors, obviously, right? This is like 18 and over.
Yeah.
But that's not going to stop them from using it. Like, I see it when things pop up in the culture, like vaping was the thing too. You know that teenagers are using it. So now, in the article that I read, the company that produces this specifically says we do not market to teenagers. We do not market to young people, like nothing in our marketing. But they're not doing the marketing. The TikTok influencer, the Zinfluencer is doing it.
And the danger with that is that this is such a sneaky little way of being a little shit, of being a little rebel, of putting it in your mouth and nobody has to know. Nobody's ever going to find out.
Yep.
Cigarettes, you reek of cigarettes. Vape, you got to eventually let a cloud out or you're doing it in the bathroom or something.
It's so discreet.
This is so discreet. You don't even you could put it in your pocket, hide it, maybe put a few in your pocket so you don't have to have the whole little can. And then as the day goes, you're like,
and we know that teenagers are by nature rebellious. They want to push boundaries. And this could be a simple way to kind of like try something. You know, it almost feels like a little bit like, oh, I know I shouldn't be doing this.
Baby's first cigarette, kind of.
Yeah. So I mean, I definitely don't, I don't like that, you know, that it's so prominent on TikTok and so part of the culture.
Yeah. And as someone with kids, you know, eventually they're going to be like, oh, what's like dad's mints?
For
what
sure.
are those mints that dad has?
Yeah.
You know, it's just part of being a kid. We were there 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's too accessible as opposed to smoking cigarettes, which, like you said, like you're gonna smell it on you.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Like hide in the bathroom like it's 1982 and smoke a cigarette? But this is like you can do it in class.
Literally.
That's no bueno.
And that's a problem.
One thing I would advise against, because people see it as like a little boost, right? Like a little energy boost. Don't do this before working out.
No.
I wouldn't recommend it just because it jacks up your heart rate and your blood pressure. Not a lot, but enough that you don't want to be really doing that before a workout. Like you're better off with a regular like caffeine or some other type of pre-workout, even though we don't like synthetic pre-workouts, but caffeine, coffee, Celsius if you must.
Keep out of reach of pets because your pet will put it in there and your pet will lock in and your Roxy starts doing a bunch of guided work. You gotta be careful with that.
I think the big question here is, do the benefits of nicotine outweigh the risks of how it's addictive and the potential negative health effects of it, which we have to say we don't know yet. We don't know what the long-term effects are.
I think it's hard to judge something when you're unsure of what it can cause in the future. So if you were to analyze what the data we have now, I think it's worth it if you're using it in a controlled manner. But for the long term, I think it's impossible to say. Like you said, we don't know what it could be causing. So for now, I would say it's worth it, but I would advise people to tread lightly. And obviously, if you feel like you're addicted, if you feel like you're becoming dependent, maybe it's time to step back.
My mindset is there's no such thing as a free lunch. That's not a universal truth or anything. It's just something that the way that I think, which means that if something has a lot of like supposed benefits, especially if it's like a compound or something that's synthetic,
look at the back end.
There's some sort of price that you end up paying for it. That's just the way I like to think about it, because it stops me from just jumping onto every trend. Another example of that would be like zero sugar type of stuff, right? Like zero sugar. Yeah, but it's sweet. So what is it? It's something that's like 100 times sweeter than sugar, that doesn't have any calories, that was made in a lab.
Yeah.
Is that good for you? I'm not, a lot of our listeners will be like, yeah, aspartame and all the artificial sweeteners are bad for you. Jury's still out on that. But you are taking a risk because we're guinea pigs. Like this stuff wasn't around 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Like nobody extracted nicotine from tobacco or made it in a lab and used it for 30 years to see how it, we're guinea pigs right now.
It's the same way I feel about the Wegovy's and the Ozempics, and it's like, oh my God, in the beginning it's like, look at all these amazing benefits, and yeah, it's good for diabetics and it's good for weight loss, and now we're slowly seeing some of the negative side effects. So I feel like that little trickle down effect is probably going to happen along the line with the Zyns.
Yeah, probably. Although I haven't seen that many negative effects of those drugs.
Like, I mean, they're coming out like the muscle.
I'm sure. I'm sure there's going to be some. Again, I think that there's always a price that you pay. But that's a whole nother discussion. We do want to do a whole podcast on GLP-1s.
We will do it.
We will.
Julian's going to actually take one for a month, and we're going to see what it does to him.
Might as well, right? I seem to do...
You're our guinea pig. You're our guinea pig.
I'm the Tim Ferriss of the duo.
Another thing is you'll notice that this one says, warning, this product contains nicotine right in the front. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, but they don't have to put... let's see if you can see that.
Yeah,
cover your faces. That's usually when it does it. But you don't have to put like cigarettes, like, the cancer warning and all these things, because it doesn't have those repercussions. But I wonder if in the future, as we learn more, if it'll have different like warning labels.
That is also an interesting discussion, because there are politicians and people like that are trying to make moves against like banning Zyns or banning this type of product. So I'm curious to see where it's going to go in the future. I'm sure like with any new thing that comes out, the government and regulations,
make money off
it takes a while, but it'll eventually... We'll see what happens in a few years.
We'll find out when we all have tails. When our tails are growing, it's gonna be fun. Well, mine's not gonna grow. Mine's gonna be a little stubby because I've only done one or two.
I will also say, to play devil's advocate, even though yes, this is a health and fitness podcast. First of all, I'm not claiming to be all about optimizing health and fitness, because I take calculated risks that are not healthy, and I think all of us do that.
Calculated,
but some of them are calculated.
Getting hammered is a calculated risk.
What I'll say is that, do we really know what anything of the modern world is doing to us? Like, it seems like every other week we find out that there's microplastics in everything, and all those artificial sweeteners are supposed to be healthier than sugar. They're not that healthy, or whatever. Like, your furniture has things, or there's EMF. I mean, I'm not going down that crazy rabbit hole, but you know what I mean? That like
everything
those people that think they're so clean, and I'm not gonna do this, I'm like that. Unless you're living off the grid in the forest somewhere where we know that's good for you, and eating off the land, like. There's chemicals and there's compounds in everything that we're eating. So I just don't feel that there need to be such a crazy about like my health and like what I'm consuming. So yeah, can this potentially be bad for you? Probably as bad as drinking a diet soda, or I don't know, having wearing plasticky spandex clothes. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, but it all goes back to, and I kind of say this like tongue in cheek, half joking, but I'm also serious. I don't trust anybody that doesn't have at least one vice, or like doesn't, you know what I mean? Like doesn't do these little things, that doesn't have a drink, or doesn't take a Zyn, or doesn't, do a little something that's, like you said, a calculated risk. Because we're all humans at the end of the day, and we're all looking for an edge, we're all looking for an advantage. So,
I feel like they're also making their lives harder than, just by something that may not even have any real evidence to prove that you shouldn't be doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and just like some people will smoke one cigarette and get like mouth cancer. Like, life is a weird game of balances and give and take. So, I don't know. Don't judge people that are doing it. Don't take it, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. To not confuse the audience, I guess what we mean here is you have to decide for yourself how much risk you're going to take when it comes to your health. And for example, some of these biohackers that I listen to, like Peter Attia, he says it all the time. He's like, I'm banking on living to like 110 or whatever because I know like the advances in my lifestyle. So for me, I choose not to drink alcohol, like zero, none. But I'm not telling you not to drink alcohol. You can make the calculated risk of like, I'm going to do these little things that are not good for me. But he's saying, I choose to live life. Like, to me, it's worth it. If I get to, 110 and I look back and I'm like, dude, you could have been getting drunk and having fun like everybody else. He's like, I'm not going to have that regret. I don't want that. But for other people, it's like, yeah, I'll take the risk of doing this if it helps me feel a little buzz or helps me feel like I'm more productive or whatever. You're going to take that risk. But you have to decide for yourself. Like, we can't tell you.
100%. That's very well said. And I think a lot of people would say, I'd rather live till 80 doing my beer, my Zyn, my little having fun, than to get to 110 living a squeaky clean life. Like, that's just not who I am.
Yeah, and then for example, like, I won't ride a motorcycle because I see the data of riding motorcycles, but then there's other people that will gladly take the risk of riding a motorcycle.
Because riding the motorcycle gives them that freedom and that feeling of that nothing else can. So who are you to tell them not to?
Exactly. And again, it's like, it's risk tolerance. How much risk are you? What are those people that do not hang gliding? What are the ones that in the squirrel suits?
Like one in every 4 die.
Yeah, 1 in 4 of them die. Like, that's a huge percentage that I'm not willing to have.
Freaking way am I taking that risk.
But there are people that do that all the time. There's risky people out there.
It's at the end of the day, it's your life. And like you said, it was very well said. Take whatever calculated risks you deem fit for, your lifestyle.
And people ask us all the time, like, I love Diet Coke, but then I hear some things about aspartame and all this stuff. It's like, a Diet Coke, I don't think is gonna kill you. Having a Diet Coke a day, like, there are much worse things you could be doing. Is it maybe the healthiest thing in the world? No, but
the problem is,
it's not that big of a deal.
Don't push these things. Is I think the underlying theme is don't have 5 Diet Cokes a day. Don't pop a whole container of Zyn. Yeah. Everything with moderation. I think that's definitely the underlying theme of like encompasses all of it.
And you know what? Experiment with yourself. Like,
play with yourself.
Funny, but play with yourself. But it's true. If you experiment with yourself, you'll know. Like, I know when I'm having too much caffeine. It starts to affect me in certain ways. I'm sure I'll know if I have too many of these.
I can't take them. It just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. So.
But if I'm drunk, maybe.
Maybe you'll do a half.
Maybe I'll do a half.
And don't lace your friends.
Do not lace your friends. Don't tell them it's a regular mint and then give them that and then it burns their mouth.
Who would do such a thing?
That is not cool. Okay? Stop it. Don't do it. You asshole. So I think a good comparison, a good way to end this is, whereas vapes were like Instagram and it's like the flashy, like young thing, this is like vaping for like, this is like the LinkedIn. You know what I mean? Like, these are the guys trying to lock in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and some people are here like, LinkedIn is bullshit. Yeah, we know. So is this. Like, some people are using it for bullshit.
I don't know.
Some people are making money off it.
Making money.
100%. But some people are doing it to eat shit and using it as a dating site.
It's a good
so this is like the LinkedIn of productivity things, of quote unquote habits that people are doing nowadays, especially young people. With that being said, guys, we hope you learned something today. Some of you might go out and try and buy a Zyn.
I hope you got inspired.
Some of you might go out and buy them.
Anyway, if you are going to use it, use my discount code. I'm kidding.
Go on Nick, Nack. No. But really, some of you might want to go out, try it. Some of you might want to, drop whatever habit you're doing.
You do whatever you want. You're an adult.
Obviously. But for the rest of you, if you're like, it's just not going to do it for me, it is what it is. Like we said, it's your decision to make. Ultimately.
And let us know. Like you said, like, are we way off target here? Are the people exclusively using it as a party thing or exclusively as like a productivity thing? Like, let's keep the discussion going.
Has anybody crushed it and snorted it yet? We don't know. We don't know, but we will find out. We'll let you know. Guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Beer Brothers
Podcast. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to dissolve a bunch of pouches into Saratoga water, dip my face in it.
Dude, you're going to come out?
That's the ultimate productivity hack.
You're going to come out